I've not been there.
No? Oh,
No.
man. Ooh, Panama's gorgeous.
I mean, it's all, to me, it's all gorgeous down there. It's just, it's a lot of earth.
Yes.
It is just, it's earth. It's earth. It's not um, as industrialized,
Yeah.
at
It's
all. And
organic.
people can live with the land.
Yeah. I saw my first
Um,
black sand beach in Panama.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
If we can make sure that our phones are on silent, I had to check myself, and I was not on silent. So we'll just energetically hold the space for anyone that may be joining us late. I have a request. If anybody needs to cough or anything, please cover your mouth. If anyone needs a tissue because I have my computer on it, just let me know.
What are you offering?
I said I have the tissues. So if anyone needs one, let me know because they're under here. And if anybody is needing to cough, if we could just make sure that we cover our mouth, um, that would be great. Good morning. So, yeah. So I'm Jane. This is the spiritual dimension of wellness. We call it expansions because we're here to expand our heart and our consciousness. Woo! And I was whenever I set this up to do the online stuff, I type in the title, the name, the time, like all the things, and it prompts me to type in a description. And so the description I put spiritual health,
Mm.
and I was like, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about spiritual health
Mm.
because I feel that we always talk about our physical health, right?
Mhm.
All the time. And we can see it. It's the easiest to recognize. We talk about mental health now more than ever. Like in our culture, mental health was not a topic of discussion for most of our lives. It's really starting to make its way into the forefront where we can actually talk about mental health and to be able to say, hey, this is my experience or this is my diagnosis. And it's like, cool, thanks for telling me, and not like, oh my God, you're weird. It's just like what mental challenges do we all have, right? Type of thing. And I feel like emotional health is starting to become a topic for our culture, where people can say the words of, I'm experiencing sadness or depression or grief, and not all of a sudden be ridiculed or medicated. It's like, okay, like that's cool. Like that I'm glad that that's kind of coming online for topics of discussion. But what I don't feel is that common yet is a conversation around spiritual health. We'll talk about spirituality, right? Or religion, like whatever your jam is. We'll talk about that stuff. But do we really talk about spiritual health? What do y'all think?
Um, I was in a class, I think, last week, and it talked about interpersonal relationships, and the guy had shared that his back was weak. And the teacher or the instructor, he had shared that he said, what did he say? He says, because your spiritual health is not girded up. So he instructed the guy, he said, pray a little bit more often. And as he prayed, he said, as he started praying in the morning, noon, and night, to build up his spiritual health. His back pain went away because his core, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
His core wasn't strengthened, his spiritual core. And once he started getting his core back, and I did it myself, and I learned I don't have any back pain no more since I started praying more for my spiritual health.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. I want to hear more. Yeah.
Please define spiritual health.
I guess it would be the relationship in a way that is serving our spiritual body, our spiritual connection. Like mental health would be the relationship we have with our thoughts. Our emotional health would be the relationship we have with our emotions. So spiritual health would be the relationship we have with spirit.
I try to get a connection. You can call it God consciousness, spirit consciousness, whatever, every single day. And some days are better than others. but I also take my higher power with me everywhere I go. And when I get in trouble, I get angry or something like that, that's the first thing I do. First, because I'll open my mouth and it'll be bad. And so that's how I've learned to not get angry and not say something I'll regret. Um, and I think it's something to work on because the more God consciousness you have, the more you're going to treat people nicely. And that is my goal. That's my new goal, is to treat people like I'd like to be treated all the time, even if I get pissed off at them.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, my definition of spiritual health, I haven't called it spiritual health. I call it spiritual healing or spiritual health, but not spiritual health. And like Miss Robin said, God conscious and more prayer,
Yeah.
concentration, and being closer to the God of my understanding. So I just learned a new word today,
Yeah.
spiritual health instead of spiritual health and spiritual healing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
Man, got nothing to do with a lot of positive thinking. It's thinking, spiritual health, but a lot of positive thinking. Cause you have a choice. You have choices in life. You can be negative, you can be positive. If the more positive you put out there, I think the better off your life going to be, and the better your thoughts going to be.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else have something to say about spiritual health?
For me, in spiritual health and working on my spiritual health, I don't per se consider it positive or negative because I look at it the same way as I would physical health. So it takes some pain to see progress. It takes a lot of things before we get to the good, to be able to endure, to be able to build it up strong enough to withstand and hold. So me, with my spiritual health, I don't try to avoid the things that are going to strengthen me because if I'm feeling great and I'm, able to lift 100 pounds, I'm able to lift 100 pounds. But if I'm able to actually lift 200 pounds, that means I'm gonna have to condition myself. I'm gonna go through some aches and pains. I'm gonna go through some hard stuff. I'm gonna go through some slips. So when I think of spiritual health, I think about both sides because that's what builds my health to be stronger.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you for that because I want to dive into that. Amy is on here and said, just wanted to join as a newbie. Hello, newbie. Welcome. We're talking about spiritual health. And Mama Jane is here in Indiana. Hey. Anyone else want to share what you feel around spiritual health, what it means to you? Because this is kind of what came up. Were you going to say something, Todd? Okay. Something that came up in this conversation, because again, it's called expansions. So what I like to do is just, what do we just all talk about? Let's expand it and go to the next step. Ooh, what's next, right? So I don't really come up with much of a plan, obviously. And so kind of what came up was when I think about my health, say my physical health, right? And I want to lift 100 pounds and I can do that. And then I'm like, well, now I want to lift 200 pounds. I can't just be like, I just lifted 100 pounds. Well, then here's 200. Like you got to work up to that, right? And there's a conditioning. It's a practice. I have to have a solid practice, a workout practice. I need to have a commitment to my practice. If I'm going to go out there and I want to run a marathon, I need to be really committed and devoted to my training schedule. I can maybe miss a day, but I can't miss 2. And I damn sure can't miss 3. Because by the time that 4th day comes, I got to kind of almost start over, depending on where I am in my path, in my training for this marathon, And it reminds me of like all the times that I've like wanted to lose weight. And it's like, okay, well, I can do that if I have a healthy nourishment practice. I can't eat pizzas every day and eat a salad one day and be like, well, why am I not? Blah, 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 blah. You know, I can't go to the gym one day and be like, well, I lifted those 20 pounds. I did my reps. Why can't I lift 100 pounds today? You know, it doesn't, nothing ever in life works like that. When the rose grows on the bush, it doesn't like come up and go, bam, I'm a rose, I'm done. Like it goes through its own practice, a daily change, right? And so to me, that's what a spiritual health practice is. It's a practice. And we can lose track, right? We can get off path, we can get off course. And it's a matter of, do I beat myself up over it and never get back on the path again? Which has happened to me in many ways in my life. You know, if I had a drink, I'd be like, oh, I'm screwed now. Let me go ahead and just kill the bottle. You know, or I'd buy a bag of cookies and I'd be like, well, I already ate more than the serving size. Let me go ahead and binge. You know, or, well, I did that one thing and let me just screw it. You know, or I'm just never going to do it again. It happens in relationships. We get in a relationship with a partner and then it doesn't work out. And it's, I'm never going to get in one again. Right?
Yeah.
So imagine if we applied that mentality to our spiritual practice, our spiritual health, then we would not really have as much or as deep of a connection with that in which we call God, Great Spirit, consciousness, the oneness, with love, with the center of the universe, whatever the word is for you. If we don't have a spiritual practice, we lose the depth of relationship, right? Like if I stop going to the gym, I'm going to lose the depth of relationship with my strength. You know, if I maybe stop taking my mental health medication, I'm going to lose relationship with my ability to perhaps think clearly. Or if I get in a different relationship with alcohol, I'm going to lose the ability to think clearly. Samesies. You know, but spiritual health, we don't talk about it because there's no one way.
Right.
So then it's almost like, well, because there's no one way to do it, we're just not going to talk about it. And then we have this whole like category of wellness that doesn't even get talked about or supported in our community or in society, in the media. Like I don't hear anyone on Dateline or whatever news channel. You know, they'll talk about mental health these days. And they'll talk about all this other stuff, but they don't talk about the actual benefits of a spiritual health practice and what that could look like.
I think they don't want to talk about it because it's like, you know, everything's regulated by the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. How that came to be, I have no clue. But, you know, with the, I don't want to say the insurance companies, but with a lot of these companies and organizations, their bottom line will be affected. You know what I'm saying? Because if they talk about spiritual health, wellness, and all these other sorts of things, then nobody's going to buy them Nabisco cookies. You know what I'm saying? Because they're saying they're full of sugar. Or like if you look at a Pepsi or something like that, it has the sugar, then it has the added sugar. Nobody talks about the genetically modified organisms and all this other type of stuff. But, you know, coming from a standpoint, like you were saying, coming from the spiritual health and wellness aspect, you know, that doesn't get talked about because the insurance companies and these doctors and, you know, they can't, there's no pill for that. We have the pill, but they want to prescribe pills for everything. They just want to throw pills at everything.
Yes. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Let's expand on that. So,
So soda, basically, instead of sugar, it's corn syrup, and that's
Right.
much worse for
Oh,
your
yeah.
body
Right.
than sodium.
and it's not the real thing.
Right.
No, but
Right.
they say it is.
Right, so check
their
this.
theme song or whatever is the real thing.
Right. That would literally is their theme song. But so let's expand on this because putting it into the spiritual health. So, and we look at, say, these foods or beverages, and they put fake stuff in it and tell you it's the real thing and that it's better for you. Meanwhile, all the studies show that's not true. Right? All the studies show that aspartame is not good. All the studies show that this, that, and the other is not good for us, right? So we have all the proof, but the marketing says, but you'll be better, you'll be thinner, And if you're thinner, you're happier, you're more successful, people love you more. Okay, so that's the messaging. When we apply the same thing to religion, and not all religions, I'm talking about the overarching religiosity with dogma and like I'm right, you're wrong. Okay.
Right.
So when we look at religion, the way it's been indoctrinated into the culture of human, they've done the same thing. They've said that God is outside of you
Mhm.
over here, and this is the real thing.
Right.
This is what's good for you. If you touch stone to this God outside of you only, then you're good, you're lovable, you're redeemed, you're saved. Okay? So then what that does is it creates a system which says, well, that's the only thing. That's the only thing that I need to connect with to be loved, right? Same thing with the soda. If I just drink this, I'll be thin. If I drink this, I'll be healthy and energized. Okay. So same thing. Forgetting that when we have a real spiritual health practice, what we do is we connect to that God source within.
Mhm.
When we connect to the God source within, we connect with the God source outside of ourselves. It's harder to connect to the God source outside of ourselves and then connect to it within. It's not easy. That's not a common practice for anyone to experience love because it's fleeting. Right? If I connect with God outside of me and I feel loved, I feel seen, I feel supported, well, then what if it goes away? Because it will, because it's outside of me. Everything outside of us is going to continue on its own path. But if I can find the God source inside of myself, I never lose it, but it's my practice to remember it. That's the spiritual health practice is what can I do to remember the God source within? And then I see it outside of myself. The practice is always going in to see it beyond, going in to see it beyond. But they don't teach that because there's no money in that, right? If I am safe, sovereign, abundant, vital as I am, then I'm not going to be reliant on the system, whatever that system is. I'm not going to be reliant on it. I become autonomous. I become free. They don't want us to be free. But freedom is the salvation.
Mhm.
And the salvation is this recognition that this God source is within.
15-minute cities.
Exactly.
Well, it's like third eye blockers, the third eye that we have within ourselves, the saccharin, the aspartames, the sugar, the flour, all these things that are not good for our bodies. You know what I'm saying? So, we sort of suppress the God source that's in us, because we're always looking outside of ourselves to find God when actually, like you just said, God is within us.
Mhm.
But the corporations in the food industry, they put these chemicals into the foods that block, nicotine, caffeine, all this type of stuff that suppresses our own natural spiritual health to become one with the universe, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Well, and think about this too, to expand on that. These foods and these chemicals that we're pumping in our bodies, whether it's in a pipe, in a bottle, or in blue Twizzlers, whatever, right? Like there are things in there that you're like, that's not natural. The earth did not grow a blue Twizzler. Under any circumstance, that is not good for our bodies. I don't care. It is not. And I've eaten it. Huh?
White sugar, natural way.
Right.
White sugar is sugar.
Right,
Sugar
exactly.
naturally brown, yeah.
It's bleak.
It's a
Exactly.
depletion process.
Yeah. And so,
My
yeah.
wife said it's bleach too. But yeah,
Yeah. And
anything, yeah.
the bleach isn't healthy,
No,
right?
no,
So think
right.
about this. So then what that does is that makes us physically ill. So then who do we turn to in that time of need?
The doctor.
The doctor.
There you go. Yeah.
That's exactly who we turn to. In a time of need, we turn to the doctor of medicine. They're not a doctor of health. Notice that they're an MD. They're a medical doctor. They're not an HD. They're not a health doctor. So we turn to this source called the MD
Mm.
as the savior, the all-knowing, the one with a magic wand or pill that can make us better, whole, complete. But if we had the spiritual practice, we wouldn't make those choices to begin with, because we would notice when it took us out of alignment. We would notice if I ate the blue Twizzlers, I would be so attuned with my body that I'd be like, something's not right. All of a sudden I have a headache. Why do I have a headache now? You know, or when I would drink, it would be like, I would notice quickly, like, I'm losing touch with my heart right now. I'm not really present. You know, we would catch this early on, but we don't have a spiritual health practice in our society. So we hurt ourselves and we go to the source outside of us to feel better. Just like in the religious teachings and the dogmatic religious teachings, that God is outside of you. He's going to be your savior. You know, we also see it in our culture with money and consumerism. You look outside of yourself to feel good. What does that look like? Well, it looks like a brand new car and a big house and a retirement and a 401k and all these things. And once you have all these things outside of you, then you are worthy of recognition that you are lovable. And that's bullshit. All of that's bullshit. Nothing outside of us is the savior. We have support outside of us, period. We are each other's support. PRN is our support. The earth is our support. The MDs are our support. You know, everything can be our support, but nothing outside of us is our savior.
I was saying that I was just sitting here, and when I'm considering my spiritual health, I'm also considering that it's a separation of my mind and my body, because of the fact that all these things is outside of us. All these things that they tell us, if you do this, if you do that, and you have all this stuff that surrounds your body, then inside you're gonna feel good. So that's a mental thing. They're trying to distract our mind, mask it. We do it ourselves. So there's a big difference between your spirit and your mind. So the practice, one of the strongest practice for me is separating that. To know that when I eat this, how does it make me feel? Not what it'll make me think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because to me, the mind is the gift to witness the body. The mind is the creator of thought. Thoughts are beautiful, they're powerful, but that's not all there is. There's more than thought. You know, there's feeling. Right? We have thoughts and feelings. They can easily weigh with each other and play with each other. You know, thoughts and feelings. It's the masculine and feminine. It's the light, it's the dark. It's the up, it's the down. It's the polarity to balance the thought with the feelings. And to me, that the heart is the merger of the two. And that's when we come into full alignment. And that's all within me. Nobody can do that for me. They can talk about it, but it's only through my spiritual health practice can I calm my mind enough or direct the focus of my mind. It's only through my spiritual practice can I sit with my emotions and my feelings and hold myself with forgiveness and compassion. Someone else can hold me in forgiveness and compassion all day, but if I don't feel I deserve it, then I'm not going to receive that. So it doesn't matter, right? It's like I can go to the doctor all day. If they give me a medication, but I don't take it, it's not going to help. Doesn't matter. I can go buy it, have it sitting right there. I can look at it all day. Take it up a notch. If I don't believe the medicine's going to work, I can take it all day and it's still not going to work. I can also take a sugar pill. If I believe it's going to work, it's going to work just the same as the pharmaceutical they gave me, because everything is thought, you know? So coming into this spiritual practice, a spiritual health practice, like if every day I want to drink water so that I can poop, I'm going to eat a fruit and a vegetable so that I can be nourished and poop. I'm going to have a spiritual practice so that I don't sit in my own shit. Right? So when I talk about spiritual health practices, I can't be the one to say, so this is what you do. Okay, you wake up and you do this. And this is where religions have come in strong and created all these wars. Because say we are, we're sitting at this round table ish right now, and we each are our own kings or queens of our nations. And our nations have the practices that we tell our countrymen and women what to do in practice. We're all going to have something different. One of us might say, well, first thing we do is we get up with the sunrise and we pray to the sun in gratitude for the life that it is giving us today. Others might say we sleep in and we rest. And then some might say, well, it depends on what day it is, right? And someone's going to say, well, we're going to start eating fruit in the morning. Someone else is going to say, no, we eat the bacon. You know, we pay homage to the animals and you know what I mean? So everybody's going to have their own different spiritual practice. So then imagine we grow up like this. You do your way, I do mine. We each do our own way. And now I want your land because it's about the greed and the money. But now we got to fight over, well, it's because, well, but I'm going to tell you why I need your land. It's because my religious ways are right. And I have more money to prove that I'm more valid or whatever. I don't know. So for us to even be able to share in conversation spiritual practices that help our spiritual health, to even have these conversations is literally a massive step to world peace.
Yay!
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if every country could get together and say, what's your spiritual health practice? I'm so
Yeah.
curious. And then be able to say, wow, that doesn't align for me, but that's cool that works for you.
If they would just put spirituality in their thoughts, would be a start.
Right? Yeah. And not, well, this is just what's right. And this is what I was told to do. So I have to do it. And I don't care about you, you know? And so I would like to go around and just popcorn this out. If you would share just like a spiritual health practice, and you cannot include meditation and you cannot include prayer. Okay. Now, again, a spiritual practice for your health is going to be something that lets the thoughts and the feelings work together with ease. It's going to be something that brings nourishment to your spirit, which can also be something that lights you up physically or emotionally, right? So what if your spiritual health practice, okay, this is just an example, is that you go to the Humane Society and you play with puppies for an hour every day? Nobody cares, but it lights you up. And it brings you this sense of just joy that you're like, you know, I feel really good about this. And then you go out into the world and you're holding that energy of a lit up spirit, of your spirit being lit. Okay. So just for a moment, I'm just going to do this bowl for a second, and you're just going to take a few deep breaths and just contemplate what your spiritual health practices are. No matter what, you have one. Trust, you have at least one. So just take a big breath in. Let it go. Do another really big full breath in. And a big breath out. Another big full breath in. A graceful breath out. And just think about what you do for you. Something that lights you up, that brings you joy, that brings you peace, that connects you with something bigger, connects you with love, with the community, with great spirit, with the earth, with the cosmos, with the great mother, with the great father, that only you do. And maybe no one else knows it. And maybe it's just coming into your awareness now. Take another big breath in. And in gratitude, let it out. So just popcorn out. What is one thing you'll do? One thing you do.
Read spiritual books in the morning.
Read certain books. I love that. What else?
Nature trails through the park.
Oh, nature trails through the park.
Mm.
Yes. What else we got?
I was at my mother's house the other day, and she wanted me to take the trash out. And I didn't have on those shoes, and I just happened to step on the grass, and it was wet. And I remember somebody sharing and say, getting in tune with the earth, walk on the earth with your feet. You know what I'm saying? So you can feel the earth underneath your feet, not just wearing shoes. And that felt like really good. Yeah, I wasn't concerned about my feet getting dirty or anything like that, but that felt really the connection. Yeah, that felt good.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. What else we got?
It helps me. I go to church like a lot, 3, 4, 5 days a week. It helps me around other people. The support, to talk to, that helps me out tremendously. My spiritual journey. So
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Going to church.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Ask for discernment and understanding.
Asking for. I love that. Thank you for sharing. What else we got?
I did look inside of myself back in the thoughts for a reason. It's a, I always heard this. So as a man thinking, so is he. If you think positive, you're going to be positive. If you think negative, you're going to be negative. And I realized the things I have done in my past, and I look back at it, I don't forget no bad part of my life. But not to dwell or to keep it out. Going with it. I look at it, I don't want to ever be that person no more.
Thank you for sharing that. Reflection, self-reflection, self-inquiry. I love that. Mama Jane says spending time with her friends. What else we got?
I practice getting out of myself.
What does that look like?
It looks like I don't know, kind of, it looks like encompassing my body. It just, it's hard to explain.
You're doing it.
But like you know how a CD sits inside of a snow grave?
Uh-huh.
I feel like the glass around my own city, and that allows me to be able to experience things, and it allows me to be able to observe the experience of things that gets me out of my thoughts, but I'm just observing.
So you draw awareness to your subtle body so that you can witness yourself. Is that correct? Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have anything? I love this. I love that they're all so different. Now, okay, so we had quite a few just then, right? Like that was quite a few. Now imagine if I took everyone's and said, I'm going to try that. I'm still going to honor mine. I'm still going to do what works for me. Okay. But I'm going to add Robin's one day with mine, right? I'm going to add this one. I'm going to add that one day. And I'm just going to add all these other ones in. Could you imagine how delicious your spiritual health practice would be? If every day you were like, you know what? I'm going to try that, getting my feet bare on the grass. I'm going to just do it. I'm going to try it. I don't have to do it every day, but I'm going to do one day. I'm going to try that. One day I'm going to read a spiritual book. One day I'm going to go to a church. That would be a stretch for me personally. So like, and noticing like what would even be a stretch. It might be a stretch for you to put your bare feet on the grass. It might be a stretch to like be reflective and introspective. It might be a stretch to ask. It might be a stretch to imagine something like your body completely dissolved and a part of the eternal nature of life, right? What was it that you said you did? I'm sorry. The nature walks. I was like, what? I was like, it's one of my favorite things. What am I forgetting? Because I haven't done it in like 2 days. Anyway, and so then taking another day and like, you know what? I'm going to find a trail. Because they're always hidden throughout Charlotte too. Like you don't even have to go far for these things. And I'm just going to try these things. And when I do these things, I don't have to have an expectation of an outcome. I'm just going to be really present with myself when I do this. I'm just going to be really present. When I'm reading the spiritual text in the morning, I'm not going to be thinking about all the things I need to do. I'm going to honor Robin. and what she does, and I'm going to try her spiritual practice. Okay. Could you imagine what your week would look like if we just tried everyone's for a week? How cool would that be?
Cool.
I mean, really.
You open yourself up, to variety because you're not pigeonholed. When you're broadening and expand your horizons, you can receive more. But if I stay like this and I stay in my own little hole, then I can't get anything in, because I'm only stuck on my way. But then once I start opening up, like with a flower, I start to blossom. So the more I expand, as this is called expansions, the more I expand, the brighter and the better I become, I feel, as a person in working on my spiritual health.
Yeah. I mean, think
Man.
exactly. Yes. Because, sometimes I think of the word, sometimes they call God, goddess, the universe, whatever. Sometimes, and some people call it great spirit, right? It's all the same thing, different words. And when I just think of great spirit, I don't think of like a one-trick pony. I don't. I think of like great spirit that's like, I can do anything, I can do everything, I am great. Shazam, where it's like, yeah, anything goes, but I'll try it all and I'm going to be great at all of it because I'm willing to try it and be present with myself. And if I can't do it well, then I'm still great because I'm not supposed to do everything perfect. Like that to me is what great spirit would be like if great spirit had a voice to talk about and narrate their experience. So to be narrow-minded and like, this is the only way, that's short-sighted. Like, that's like if I only ate at McDonald's. That's the only place I ever ate was McDonald's. Ugh, I don't like McDonald's. I don't eat that. But if that's all I ate, that was all I ate forever. And someone was like, hey, we got this place called Chick-fil-A. I'd be like, what? And then I would taste it and I would either be like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Or I might be like, what is this? This is weird. Why are the fries not in sticks? What are these? What are these? Waffle fries? I don't understand. And then would I poo-poo it and be like, I'm not eating it because it's not a potato in a stick form? Or would I be willing to try it and maybe find out that I love it? So when we look at our spiritual health practice, it can be varied. It can be so different. It can be different every day. What my feels are around it is that if we have a consistent, committed practice to our spiritual health, that is when we become more healthy, more healed, more connected, more aligned, more in tune, more attuned, more present, more clear, more. We become more. We become more of the radiant being that we are already. We've just become more of that. It's like if every meal I eat has fruit and veggies, every one. It might be, a cherry, or it might be like a plate of fruit, but either way, I know that every time I'm getting something. And that's this continual practice for our spiritual health.
Life is like a recipe. Every more one ingredient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. It's Mama Jane says the Subway guy. So when I thought about spiritual health, I was like, whoa, like anything is possible. Anything is possible with this. But I'm not going to go a day without water. I'm not going to go a day without food. I mean, unless I'm like dry fasting, but that's another story. But unless I'm doing something like that, I'm not going to go a day without eating. Unless I just can't. But then if I have a spiritual practice, bet I'm going to already be full. Because have you noticed when you take these walks that, you might be hungry, but it doesn't really matter?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm hanging out with my friends, like Mama Jane said, I might be hungry, but I can lose track of that time and that discomfort. If I'm reading something that's just got me engaged, or if I'm really in reflection, like whatever these things are, I'm just present with that experience. So then I can override pains or discomfort. And then I start to go into that healing place. because my mind stopped focusing on the pain and discomfort of whatever space that pain and discomfort would be from.
Like a man says, so the man thinking so is he.
Mm-hmm.
It's just simple.
I know. So take another deep breath and just let it go. That right there, by the way, is a spiritual practice. Just taking a few deep breaths brings us back to center. Bringing back to center is bringing us back to ourselves, our higher self, a clearer mind. So remember too that whatever spiritual health practice you got, you can add breathing to that, because breath is spirit. It's inspiration. It's all derived from the same word, spirit, inspiritu. Like, it's so funny. We give ourselves all these like signals of how to be healthy and well, just even in the words that we use: spirit, inspiration, breathe. That's it. It's all we need. But we get in our mind. Yeah.
It's interesting because that's how I began to like get to what's been one of the most helpful ways, like being outside myself, but not separating myself. It's like I take a deep breath and I allow my mind to just kind of, well, I'll do it until my mind stops thinking and just focuses on that breath. Focuses on, basically it's like me imagining that I'm like inhaling my spirit from weak down inside, and when I'm exhaling, I'm letting it be out, but like not to form a division between the outside and me, but to expand, to just let everything just kind of come together.
Yes. I love that. That's such a, like, if I can't imagine my spirit, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to experience it. But if I can even imagine it, it makes the experience more accessible. For example, if I can imagine myself being happy, even if I'm not happy, if I can just allow myself to imagine myself happy, then I am getting closer to the experience of that. If I can imagine my energetic body that's beyond what we see. I mean, our energetic body, we're all touching right now. We all have an energetic, an electromagnetic field of energy around us. We're all touching. And because we're all sitting in this shape, we've made this one giant energetic bubble around us. And now that we've started talking about it, you're starting to imagine it. And it looks different for everyone. Someone might be feeling it right now. You might be seeing a color. You might see a movement, maybe a spin. It might have a sound to it. But what that does is when we can imagine that, oh my God, we're all connected. We're all sitting here present, talking about something relatively light, spirit, health, connection, love, those things. So the energy that we're even sitting in isn't like heavy and dense and gross. It's actually a really light energy, right? So not only are we imagining it, next time I maybe see you out on the street, that is in my memory. It's in my subconscious memory, which means that now I'm going to connect into that energetic field that we're now in. How cool is that? So the imagination is a really, really, I think, beautiful spiritual practice to use for our health if we use it in a way that is serving our health, right? Like what if our physical bodies all became invisible? How do we recognize each other? Spirit, like, right? Maybe a feeling, maybe we would hear the voice, be like, I know that voice. That's Elijah's voice. I know that voice.
It's like I saw my grandbaby this weekend, well, actually Monday for the first time, my daughter's first child. And she was asleep. you know, and I was talking, and you know, I could see she was like moving and stuff like that. Like, wait a minute, who is this person? You know what I'm saying? You know, she was, you know, I guess, you know, she was sucking a little pacifier. You know, who was this person? She originally woke up, and then, you know, she heard her mama's voice, and she immediately responded to that voice. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we're such sensitive creatures to energy.
Mhm.
I mean, we really are. Like, I've walked in places before and someone was like, I felt you come in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I bet. I was really happy when I came in, you know, or whatever. And we can feel that. And the more practice we are at our spiritual health, or the more we have a practice with our spiritual health, the more sensitive we become to spirit in others, especially others who have a spiritual health practice.
Mhm.
And we know that because we feel like soul brothers and soul sisters. We're like, ooh.
Mhm.
And you find the common ground, and you make new relationships that are healthy, that are vibrant, that are really supportive. And you become each other's witness to being your own savior.
Mhm.
And you don't become codependent on them. And they don't become codependent on you. A spiritual health practice, to me personally, has been the saving grace for my entire life of recovery. You know, because it didn't matter how much I was working out, running, being physically like, yeah, but look what I'm doing. I was killing myself on the inside with substances. You know, when my emotional health, like, I was like in the pit of despair and like trying to be dead. You know, like, how can I not wake up tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't have a spiritual practice in any of those times at all.
You was unhappy.
Huh?
You was unhappy.
I don't know if I don't think I did. I don't think that I was unhappy, and that's why I didn't have a spiritual practice. I think
You don't know really who you really are.
Right. And I think the spiritual practice leads us to who we really are. And then that brings the joy. So for me, I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't not doing my spiritual practice because I was unhappy.
Well, you know,
Why was I doing what?
what you doing, why you doing what you're doing.
The happy stuff or the not happy stuff?
Unhappy stuff or unhappy, don't matter. The key to it is why was you doing what you're doing? That's just that. The reason why we come here every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had this company just to come here for a reason. On the inside of us,
Mm-hmm.
not the outside.
Definitely. Yeah. You know, I think that a lot of times, you know, everything we're doing is for a reason.
Right.
And it's when we can go in and ask ourselves, like, what is the reason for this? And that's a spiritual practice. Asking ourselves, like, why am I doing this? And then the practice would be, is it a spiritual health practice then? Well, why am I doing this? Because I don't want to feel the pain. Well, then let's get us through this. Let's love you through this, or let's do something. Like, that's the spiritual health practice. The introspective, like, why am I doing this? Because I want to die. That's right, you worthless piece of crap. Not a spiritual health practice. You know?
Yeah, for me, this like a spiritual practice. Like I said, I used to be employed by PRN, but now I'm a recipient of services. And it's like being on the other side of the fence. I'm cool with that. I don't even worry about that. But it's like the spiritual practice for me is being able to come to these classes and see, and it's not just an AA meeting, an NA meeting, anything like that. Expansions. You know, we're talking about something totally different, but it's still dealing with the recovery aspect. And this is great for me because, you know, I get tired of the, well, this, you know, this is mind expanding. You know, it gives me other stuff to think about. I mean, you know, you talked about staying consistent, committed, devoted, training schedule, healthy nourishment, practice emotional health. That's what I need, you know, for myself. And, you know, since this is available, this is great. You know, I mean, because just being in this class for this little bit short period of time, I'm like, I feel perky. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
So, you know, I'm like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for that reflection. Bring the perk without the coffee. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, for me, when I wasn't practicing any type of spiritual health, or fitness or awareness, it's because I was so overwhelmed and consumed with my mind trying to fit in to what everybody else said it's supposed to look like. And thanks to recovery and giving up and just saying, hey, I need something that fits into me and opening myself up, that's when I began to start practicing and having some type of spiritual connection, because instead of me trying to use my mind to fit in, now I'm using my spirit to say what fits works for me.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, like, and that's the thing, giving ourselves a lot of grace, because what may work for me in this season of my life may not work for me in the next season of my life, right? Like where I am in this right now, I'm in an extreme time of transition personally. So I have this big transition that I'm in. So I'm in this like energetic purgatory, right? So my spiritual practice is being present where I am in this now moment. Because when I'm not in this now moment, my mind is thinking about, okay, what do I need to do next? What do I need to land? What, right? So my spiritual practice, I'm doing it in this right now. I'm not thinking about all the things that I need to do. I'm not, until I just started talking about it, right? But my spiritual practice is being present every chance I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Just be present. It's just here. This is the only thing that matters, is this right now. That's it. And that's a really deep spiritual practice. That's a spiritual embodiment practice. So on that note, I have, at the end, I like to give an invitation. If you want to try it for a week, let's do it. So for the next week, I would love to invite us to try on a new spiritual health practice every day. So keep your own. Whatever yours is, please keep honoring that. My invitation is every day do one other thing. So that might be like Robin, for example. Robin's going to read her book in the morning. And then tomorrow, she's going to read her book and she's going to go put her feet on the grass.
Yes.
And then the next day, she's going to read her book and she's just going to be reflective and be like, why am I here? Okay. And then maybe the next day is she reads her book and then she goes to church. I'm just saying, right? See, so for me, like I said, that would be a stretch for
I
me.
do go to a church.
And, and my invitation is to, to stretch yourself, but don't do anything that's not in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, if I went to a church, I would have discernment on which one I would go to. I'm not going to put myself in one that I would go into and be like super triggered because they're saying like anti-love things, right? But the invitation is to try on a new spiritual health practice every single day for a week and just give yourself grace. So if at the end of the day you're like, I'm going to, and you're like, oh God, I didn't do the other one. Take 3 really deep breaths and say, wait a minute, I just did. And put like a hand on your heart and just reconnect with your breath and just be like, oh, that was my spiritual health practice. Okay. I did it. Okay. I did it. That one actually felt really good. I might do that all the time. Whatever.
Explore your mind.
Yeah. Explore the mind and the heart and the breath. Be inquisitive, be curious, be open. That's the invitation.
Okay.
Are we good with that?
Mhm.
I want to say good morning to Sam and Daniel who have joined us just in time to say goodbye. But check out the replay, y'all. I think it's pretty good. I've enjoyed this time. I've enjoyed this time together. I've enjoyed expanding this conversation about spiritual health.
Yes.
So thanks for not being judgy pants. Thanks for not wearing your judgy pants ever here in this space. I'm really grateful that we get to have a safe space where we can talk about all this stuff. And nobody's judgmental, nobody's righteous.
Right.
All thoughts and beliefs are welcome. Like, I'm really grateful that we have this. Like, this is not yet common. Yet.
Not society. It's not.
Yet. Exactly.
Not society.
But it's coming to be because if we're doing it, we're literally this energetic energy that we're in. We're taking it with us wherever we go.
One person at a
Right.
time.
One person at a
One person
time.
at a time.
So thanks y'all for joining us. I love y'all so much.
Yep.